Hello, everyone. Ian Smith here with fedsmith.com. I wanted to go over some figures with you today from the TSP. The TSP recently announced some significant milestones, and I thought it would be of interest to current and former federal employees who are participating in the TSP. So let's get into these announcements and figures and what it ultimately means for you. The TSP announced that there's been a significant milestone in the total number of assets. They have topped $1 trillion for the first time as of the end of June 2025, 1.006 trillion to be exact. And as you can see from this chart, they have really surged in the total assets within the TSP have really surged in the last 20 years. In 2002, there was approximately 100 billion in total TSP assets, and that represents a 906% increase approximately in just over 20 years, going from that 100 billion figure to now over a trillion. And there are over 7.2 million total participants in the TSP as well. The increase in the number of participants and also the rise in the stock market, especially in the last 10, 15 years, have been behind the increase in the total assets. This is some information on the TSP participants themselves. The current average balance in the TSP is $138,926. Now that's in the traditional TSP, not Roth. And for the FERS average, it's almost 203,000. CSRS is a little higher at 228,605. But this pie chart here shows the breakout of the total number of participants and how they break out within the TSP. And as you can see, FERS makes up the lion's share of it. That's the Federal Employees Retirement System. And that's because FERS is the current retirement system for federal employees, and it has been since the mid-1980s or so. There are not too many federal employees still under CSRS because that system has been phased out, so new federal employees are not being added to it. You can see CSRS is just 3% of total TSP participants. And this increase in the number or in the assets in the TSP, the stock market performance, has not surprisingly driven up the number of TSP millionaires as well. And a TSP millionaire, just for reference, is any participant in the TSP who has an account balance of $1 million or more. And this bar graph, I think, speaks for itself. The number of TSP millionaires has surged even more than the assets within the TSP has. Just for reference, in 2011, there were 208 TSP millionaires. That's when FedSmith started keeping track of this information. And as of the end of June 2025, there are now 171,023. And that's the highest total number of TSP millionaires there's ever been. And that is a over 82,000% increase from 2011 to the end of June, 82,123% to be exact. So it's a pretty astonishing amount of growth in the number of TSP millionaires. The largest account balance currently is 9.38 million. And we don't know anything other than that. We don't know who the person is, how long he or she's been investing. The figure has actually been higher than that too. It's been over 10 million. And again, without knowing more information about the person, the TSP doesn't release that information for obvious reasons. It could be that it's been different people at different times. There's no way to know why that figure has gone up and down. I mean, it could be the person's taken distributions from his or her account, or just the fluctuations in the stock market has influenced the total amount of money in the account. And the average years of contributions of TSP millionaires is just over 28 years. And that's an important statistic to note too, because that's really the key to becoming a TSP millionaire and achieving all of this this growth over a long period of time within your TSP account. And this table includes some additional information about the account balances in the TSP and how they break out. As you can see, the number of millionaires, like I said, is just over 171,000 now, with 28 years of average contributions. But the highest number of participants is in the lowest range. But if you happen to be amongst that group, don't be discouraged, because this shows you what you can achieve over a long period of time. And note that for the number of accounts under $50,000, it's only 6 years of average contribution. So these are federal employees just starting out in their careers. And with regular contributions and over the course of a federal career, this shows you what can be achieved. So my hope is, in sharing this data, that it will be inspirational to you. The stock market has really done well in the last decade or so, especially, and that's been driving the increase in the number of TSP millionaires, as well as the total assets within the TSP. And this table, I think, helps illustrate that. You can see in March 2020, the S&P 500 was at approximately 2,600. It's now up well over 6,000, and that's over 138% growth just in the S&P 500. And for reference, the S&P 500 tracks the C fund within the TSP, or vice versa, I guess. The C fund tracks the S&P 500. But the number of TSP millionaires has surged even more, over 500% in that amount of time. So it's just an impressive amount of growth. And this is some information on the performance of the TSP. And there is another milestone to point out here as well. The C fund has topped $100 per share, for the first time. And it hit that figure on July 17th. And you can see the current prices and month to date and year to date returns. And this is all as of the end of the day on July 25th. And this information comes from tspdatacenter.com, which is our companion website to fedsmith.com, our primary website. But at any rate, one very interesting thing to note here is the I fund is leading the way in 2025 on the year-to-date returns. It's up over 20%, which is more than double the next best stock fund, which is the C fund. And I think part of the reason for that is the tariffs. But I guess more importantly, as a federal employee, it illustrates the importance of diversifying your investments within the TSP, because we never know in any given year which funds will do better, which will do worse. So having some I fund holdings in your portfolio is clearly paying off this year. And as far as how the TSP millionaires have achieved this important milestone, as I mentioned, the average years of contributions is just over 28 years. So they're investing over the course of their federal careers. They're also primarily investing in the stock funds, because to achieve that level of growth within your account, you really can't have it in the G fund for long term, or at least not the bulk of the money. The G fund's considered the safest fund in that it never goes down. On the other hand, it's never going to achieve the level of returns that the stock funds provide. The S&P 500, for instance, which the C fund tracks, has averaged 10 to 12% over the course of its existence. And over a long period of time, that can really add up. And as you saw this year, the I fund's doing over 20%. There are years, of course, where the stock funds will go down, and it's important not to engage in emotional investing, because if the stock market goes down for 2 or 3 years, that can be very stressful to watch. But over the long haul, the data show that investing in the stock funds does better, again, over a long period of time. But those are the kinds of things that a financial advisor can help you with if you're not familiar with investing, or you just want to. fine-tune your portfolio and put a plan together that makes sense for you and your family, it's always wise to talk to a financial advisor to come up with something specific and tailored just to your needs, because everybody's needs will vary. And just to close everything out, the TSP is a very important benefit that the federal government offers to its employees. And it's grown, the assets within it have grown significantly, especially in the last decade or so, but that speaks to its scale and efficiency. And it offers some simple, generally pretty easy to understand funds that will achieve good returns over the course of a federal career and provide a good retirement for federal employees who take advantage of it. And it's got low expenses as well. Approximate average is 0.06% roughly across all the funds. The current expense ratios for the C, S, and I funds respectively are 0.036%, 0.051%, and 0.038%. So it doesn't cost a great deal to invest in these funds, and that's important, because if a fund has a high expense ratio, that's obviously going to detract from its value over a period of time. I hope you've found this information interesting and helpful. Please visit the fedsmith.com website. We provide a variety of news articles on there that are of interest to current and former federal employees on the TSP, as well as a number of other topics that affect you in your federal career. And as I mentioned briefly, tspdatacenter.com is another website that we provide, and that's got the daily TSP share prices on it, as well as current historical monthly and annual returns that you may find useful as you research the TSP funds. Thank you for watching. Have a good day.